I was just leaving the store. I only bought some snacks from my apartment when I heard something weird. It was like something was in the alley right outside the store. I wanted to check it out, but also, I'm not stupid. The sound was like someone crying, so I couldn't ignore it. What if it was someone in need of help? I had to do something. So I grabbed a piece of wood I found and walked into the alley. It was really dark and full of trash. It didn't help that it smelled really bad too. I felt like I was going to throw up. Just up ahead, I saw a big shadow. Too big to be a cat, but also big enough I should reconsider my choices. The shadow began to move, and I prepared to hit it with the wood. But then I saw it was just a girl. Quickly, I tossed the piece of wood aside so I didn't look like a psycho. "What are you doing here?" I asked her. She was covered in dirt, and she looked like she had been there for days. "I kind of live here now," she sobbed. Of course she did. Why did I ask something so stupid? She could have been a runaway, or maybe she was threatened into hiding. I wanted to ask her more, but the smell was getting too unbearable for me. "Want to come back to my place? I can give you food and a shower," I asked. "Yes, please," she exclaimed and hugged me. I held back from barfing. Even if she was covered in dirt and smelly, a girl was hugging me. I took her back to my apartment and let her wash up. I didn't have any girl clothes, so I just gave her some old clothes I had. I washed her clothes, but they were hardly anything a person should wear. In all of my kind actions, I forgot I'm not really a cook. But there was no way she could say no to some instant noodles. I boiled some water and gave her a cup to eat. She ate it quickly, asking for another serving. I couldn't help but feel a bit of pride. "So, why were you living in the alley? I assume you didn't grow up there," I asked her. "I had a falling out with my parents. We didn't really agree to the same things, so they kicked me out. I didn't even do anything. They just want to force me to do what they want," she explained. That sounded rough. Even my parents were nags. I can understand wanting to get away from that. "Well, you can stay here until you get yourself back on your feet. I don't mind," I told her. I wasn't going to pass up this opportunity. Now that she was clean, I could tell she was naturally pretty. Like, no makeup, but still model status. Besides, no gentleman would ever leave a girl on the streets with nowhere to go. Her eyes glowed with joy, and she hugged me again. "Thank you so much. I don't know how I can repay you," she thanked me. "Don't worry about that. Just try and get comfortable," I told her. Of course, I had one bed. An apartment isn't cheap, so I slept on the couch, like a gentleman. I couldn't help but imagine living with her in my dreams. We'd be the best couple together. It was kind of fast, but I could feel we were really getting along. The next morning, I took her to the store to get some clothes just for the moment. I wanted to learn more about the situation before I tried to get her to find a job or anything. She was very clever, sharp, and skillful. I couldn't help but wonder why her parents could be so mean to her. "So," I began. I realized I never asked for her name. "It's Patty. You can call me that," she had said with a smile. "Okay, Patty. What was it that your parents were forcing you to do?" I asked. "They wanted me to marry this creep. He's like a stone. Talking to him was like pulling teeth. I never liked him, but they wanted me to marry the richest guy in town," Patty explained. I couldn't hide my disgust. That was so terrible. Trying to sell off your own daughter for money? I couldn't believe it. That really sucks. I don't blame you for running away. I'd do the same," I told her. "Yeah, they just don't get me. You do, though. I like it." She smiled at me. Did I mention she had a great smile? Because boy, did she. "Well, if you'd like, I'll come with you to talk to your parents. I'm sure they're looking for you and all," I offered. Patty looked hesitant, but she nodded to me. "I'd like that. It's like they don't hear me. I bet if you pretended to be some rich guy, I could stick it to them. Or maybe get them to lay off and let me go back to my normal life. I have so much work I dropped for this," Patty said. I started to panic. Pretend to be rich? I don't know if I could do that. The fanciest clothes I had was a tuxedo from prom, but even that wouldn't pass for fancy clothing. I didn't even know how to use the fancy forks and spoons. What did rich people even talk about? How rich are they? I didn't want to make myself look like an idiot in front of Patty or her parents. I wanted to say no, I really did. But Patty looked so happy, and I found it hard to refuse. Okay, I think I can at least pretend to, I agreed. Awesome! I can't wait to see the shock on their faces, Patty cheered. The rest of the day, I practiced acting rich. I learned how to walk like a robot, hold my nose up high, and laugh like a rich guy. Who knew being rich was so weird? Patty said my tux would be okay, but my hair had to be combed back to look important. I'm glad she did it, because I had no idea what she was talking about. When she was done, I looked like a Damian Wayne discount. But Patty said I looked pretty fancy, so I'll trust her taste. She had called her parents and told them about me. Apparently, I was going to be a CEO of an electric car business. I didn't know a thing about cars besides how to drive one. While Patty was talking, I searched the web to look up anything I could about electric cars. I was sure her parents would quiz me, or see right through our lie. I nearly stayed up the entire night searching. The next morning, we took a cab to her house. Patty said she would come up with a lie as to why we were taking a cab. I stopped listening when I noticed the area we were driving through was the rich side of town. I'd never been over this far before, but I knew the rich lived here. Everyone had a huge house with an entire field for a yard. Big gardens and gigantic fountains made the place look like something out of a movie. I began to panic. Why were we going here of all places? The cab stopped outside of the largest mansion and several servants were standing outside. Patty climbed out of the car, and I followed behind her. "Welcome home, Lady Patricia," a butler announced. Patricia? Patricia? Wait, what is your last name? I asked her. Mayweather, Patty said with a wink. I couldn't believe this. She was Patricia Mayweather? The prettiest and richest girl in the state? She was on every magazine and even had her own talk show. I felt stupid for not recognizing her. But I didn't follow her activity like a fan. I just heard about her a lot. Now that I looked at her face, I could see the resemblance. Why didn't you tell me? I asked her. I didn't want you to laugh at me. Do you know how many people would have loved to make fun of me if they found me like that? Or worse. You wouldn't believe me, Patty explained. She had a point, but that wasn't important. What was is that I was going to have to trick the Mayweathers into believing I was rich. We were shown into the mansion all the way to the gardens where Patty's parents were waiting. Her mom had been an extremely popular model and now owned several fashion lines. Her father owned nearly every tech company in the country. Right away, I could feel the difference in social status. But I felt Patty hold my hand, and suddenly, I was a rich guy. So, is this the guy you found? Her mom said in a snooty tone. He doesn't look like much, her father agreed. I inhaled deeply before repeating all the knowledge I had learned about electric cars. I told them that my company was new and working overseas, but I planned on bringing them to this state for the first factory in the country. I made up large numbers and told them I had stocks in the market. I made up awards and told them I was friends with celebrities. All of it was lies, but I couldn't stop talking. Of course, electric cars are good for the environment. The poor eat that up every time, haha, I laughed. Her parents seemed to find it funny, laughing as well. I took it as a good sign. Oh dear, he is hilarious. You did well finding him, Patricia. Her mom praised her. I'll say, I should take him with me golfing. The boys would love to hear that one, her dad agreed. I almost began crying. I did it. Then, can I date him instead? And have all my stuff back? Patricia asked them. Her parents had agreed and let us go to her room. I could finally relax there. I felt like I'd been squeezed by a large snake or crushed by a boulder. What are you gonna do now? You got your money back and everything, I said with a sigh. My dream was finally ending. I was certain she wouldn't want anything to do with me anymore. What are you saying? You're my boyfriend now. You aren't going anywhere. Patty grinned at me. She hugged me tightly and began giggling. I wanted to fool my parents, but I wasn't just using you, silly. I really like you, so don't leave me, okay? She winked at me. I felt my heart beat loudly in my chest. Living rich? Having a beautiful girlfriend? There was no way I could say no to that. Okay, I agreed.